game off, and I bet you won't shoot a three. He said, go for the three. I bet you won't go for the three. So I went for the three. So I was pointing right at Lance.
Do you think it's smart to do everything? Do you think it's smart to do everything Lance Stevenson bets you to do?
Yeah, that's my guy now. We're on the same side. We're on the same side.
Now let's get you back to First Take.
LeBron going off for 51 in his return to South Beach last night. He becomes the 5th player in NBA history to score 50 points with 3 different teams, and only the 2nd player to score 50 in his 16th season or later, right? Oh, my goodness. Stephen A., is LeBron playing the best basketball of his career?
I think he is. You can point to the 2012 2013 season. I think that was the 2nd championship. He shot 40% from three-point range that year. That was his best. This is the best. This is his 2nd best performance from three-point range. He's at 39.6% from three-point range. And the range, it's not like it's at the three-point line. Yesterday, he pulled up from 32 feet. That's what he's doing right now. And you have to take into account the fact that when we point to how explosive he was when he was in his prime, obviously had more spring in his step, and his jump shot was falling with a degree of regularity more that one particular season. Remember that back then he had Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh to lean on. Therefore, the level of duress that came in his direction wasn't the same as it is now. Devoid of that secondary superstar on your squad or even the star on your team, everything is falling on your shoulders. And what are you doing to answer that call? You're averaging 28.8, about 7.7 rebounds, about nearly 7 assists per game. This man is on another level. I said before the season began, it wasn't just about winning. He was going to try to put on an absolute show this year and put himself in the conversation for league MVP honors. And Max, that is exactly what he is doing.
This is not the best LeBron James we've ever seen, but I forgive you, Stephen A., for thinking it is because LeBron has evolved his game in such a way. You mentioned the distance at which he shoots the three. Not all threes are created equal, as Steph Curry has shown. The deeper you can shoot it from, if your team moves the ball, the more wide open looks other guys get, and the higher their shooting percentage should be from deep. And that's, the way the game is played nowadays. And I mentioned no one's better than LeBron at shooting it deep. You mentioned Steph Curry has more ability, but LeBron, by the numbers, shoots the very, very deep three as well as anybody. So that is all true. And he has thought the game at an even higher level. He's always been a basketball genius, right? A savant. But in the last several years, and it shows up in the playoffs, LeBron James has been just losing his mind. But if you want it, so I get it. He's evolved his game in subtle ways, the way Michael Jordan in certain ways evolved his game. Who was better, the Jordan from the first three-peat or the second three-peat? He was a more complete player the second time. But Jordan was more of an animal. He was more of a force of nature the first time. And that early Michael Jordan is the greatest player who ever played, including the late Michael Jordan, including this LeBron James. And the prime LeBron James is not this season. It was, as you pointed out, the 2nd championship, his 3rd season in Miami, when he discovered that spot from the right side where he basically couldn't miss the three. But it's not just the offense, Stephen A. Yeah, his PER was basically tied for the highest in his career, several points higher than it is now back then. PER is basically, in those advanced analytics, basically look at the offensive side of the ball, where even by those numbers, he was a little bit better then. Basically as valuable now, just a different kind of player, but a little bit better then. But that's to say nothing of the defensive side of the ball. The fact of the matter is, playing for a Pat Riley franchise, Spoelstra, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh and those guys, LeBron James played wire-to-wire, all-time great defense. He was a great defender on multiple positions and a credible defender, at least I would say an incredible defender, on all 5 positions. Not saying switching on all 5, I'm saying he can defend all 5 positions at an elite level the entire season. So you have a guy whose offense is slightly different now, but whose defense was simply different back then. LeBron James, his 3rd season in Miami, is one of the best defenders I've ever seen.
LeBron James has never defended consistently in terms of from first quarter to fourth quarter. He's always been elite when called upon to do so because he can do that with his eyes closed. But there are many times the difference between Kawhi Leonard, for example, and somebody like LeBron. Kawhi Leonard walked into the league opening tip-off, taking on the toughest defensive assignment from opening tap to the end of the game. That's who he's been. Whereas LeBron, because of the offensive responsibilities that he has had, has always managed it judiciously. But I will say this to you. At the end of the day, when I look at the Los Angeles Lakers right now, because of the personnel he has available to him and because of how he's been called upon to bring these guys along, I'm going to tell you that right now what I'm seeing from him is incredibly impressive compared to a lot of the moments, if not almost all of them, because, well, not the earlier part with Cleveland, because we know how he carried that franchise. But this is indicative of that. When you're playing with D. Wade and Chris Bosh, and then Kyrie and Kevin Love and them, it's a difference between what you have to do right now. And I'm comparing it to that, not his early Cleveland days.
All right, we'll keep it moving. What is wrong with Golden State, fellas? The Warriors dropped their third straight and 4 of their last 5 after the infamous Kevin Durant, Draymond Green spat. Steve Kerr not holding back after the loss in San Antonio. Take a listen. Okay, we don't have that sound right now.
All right, listen.
Keep in mind, obviously, Steph Curry wasn't there dealing with the groin. Max, are the Warriors' struggles more about that spat with KD and Draymond Green or Curry's injury?
Is this a trick question?
No.
Of course it's Steph Curry's injury. As Steph Curry is the Warriors. He's the revolutionary player. He's the engine that powers that team. First of all, if Steph Curry's on the floor, Draymond Green's never bringing the ball up to even wind up in that position in the first place. So that incident that's not the inciting incident, right? That's not the catalyst for all this. Maybe something else pops off, but it's not that. And by the way, with Steph around, I'm not sure that something else pops off. The unselfish superstar keeps everyone on the same page through his behavior. Doesn't have to talk through his behavior. But beyond all those things, who's Steph? Quinn Cook, I like him. He's a nice player. He is not a Steph Curry equivalent. He can do certain things as Steph, but there's no approximation for Steph on that team. So without Steph Curry, the Warriors aren't the Warriors. This is so obviously a case of Steph's absence leading to this situation. It's not even close.
Well, what are we asking here is because to me, obviously, KD and Draymond falling out with one another last week or with the Clippers situation, that's been a distraction for this squad. Now, of course, Steph Curry being on the court makes the difference because with him on the court, you're not losing 3 straight, not this team. We get all of that. But in the same breath, I definitely think it's not as if to say that Kevin Durant and Draymond scuff had zero impact. You're damn right it had an impact. The game that Draymond was suspended, they beat Atlanta, but they struggled to win that game. We've seen what happened with them against Houston and San Antonio and Dallas or what have you. They lost to Texas. They ain't even lose to a team. They lost the entire state of Texas in the NBA, in a span of 3 to 5 days. And so I look at it from that perspective and I say, if their head were completely on straight and they were zero locked in and focused, I don't think that would have happened.
All right, fair enough. We'll leave it there, fellas. When we come back, how could a win prove the Steelers made a mistake with Le'Veon Bell? One of the guys will explain that after the break. And is the NFC East now the Cowboys' division to lose? We'll get into that at the top of the hour.
Ain't nobody messing with a kid. Nobody messing with